Yep, go for it.
Okay, good afternoon to the Whale Talk community. Today we have an AMA with WhaleSwap. Here to speak about the project is Izzy and Colin. WhaleSwap is a decentralized exchange, and WhaleSwap is the most efficient way to buy and sell cryptocurrencies on the blockchain. You can exchange tokens quickly with low cost and near zero slippage. That's thanks to their hybrid swap pools. So we'll go into that shortly, and also the staking farms and the staking. And the borrow and lend is coming soon as well for the project. But first, guys, if you could just tell us some background and experience on the core team, that'd be great.
Sure, I'll start. So basically, my background is in financial services. So I come from TradFi, and been in crypto since about 2013, and been working with Colin as partners for the past like 3-4 years, just doing different things around crypto and DeFi, different trading strategies and stuff like that. And then we decided to sit out and build well loans in our ecosystem and everything like that. But that's it for me. I'll go ahead and let Colin tell you a little bit about himself as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of just your average techie. I've been doing tech for my whole career. I started out doing programming, studied at uni, moved into cybersecurity maybe 6 years ago. And since then, I've been consulting in cybersecurity and trading crypto on the side, and obviously doing this now, starting our project. Pretty much, if you've used a company, I've probably hacked them. That's how my career's been, because I've been a consultant the whole time.
Yeah, so yeah, if you could just give an introduction into, is it WhaleSwap or Whale Loans?
It's a little confusing. We were Whale Loans, and then we moved away from that. We deprecated that protocol, and now we're WhaleSwap. But the business is registered under Whale Loans. So we're WhaleSwap, but we're also technically Whale Loans.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so if we can have an introduction for investors about Whale Loans, that'd be great.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. Okay, you go ahead, Anizio.
Okay. Yeah. So basically, what we wanted to do when we set out to build this, we wanted to build an ecosystem that pretty much could handle anything that users needed. We feel like DeFi is kind of it's a great place, but it's kind of confusing because there's so many great projects out there, so many great things happening, and a lot of people just don't know how to string them together, right? So our whole thing was, well, let's figure out a way to build a platform that's user friendly and kind of combines everything all into one place so people can kind of figure it out there, and they have access to those opportunities and things like that that they probably wouldn't have had in all in one protocol. So that's why we had originally started out to build it out like that, and that's pretty much why we're starting out, like I said, with the DEX, moving on to lending, a bunch of other products later and stuff like that, which is going to be really cool because we just want everybody to have access to these opportunities.
Yeah, so if we can go into the WhaleSwap for investors, how the hybrid swap pools work.
Sorry, can you say that one again?
Sorry. Yeah, if we can go into the WhaleSwap, the hybrid swap pools, how that works for investors and reduces the costs across all the blockchains to exchange tokens.
Right, of course. Yeah, that's kind of the biggest thing we've done separate to the other exchanges. Obviously, there's a lot of DEXs around, and a lot of them fork from Uniswap, just like we are. But we went deep into the contracts and figured out the best ways we could modify it to bring value to our users and help increase capital efficiency in a DEX. Because as part of having a whole ecosystem where people can come and do whatever they need in DeFi, which is where we're bringing borrowing, lending, whatever later, we wanted the DEX to be the DEX you need. So we're launching it cross-chain because of that. And the hybrid swap pools in particular, they were because there's so many people that want to trade stables on something like Curve Finance, but they want to trade volatile coins on a traditional DEX like Uniswap or whatever your choice is. So what we've done is we've integrated the stable swap algorithm that Curve Finance uses, a modified version of it, into the decentralized exchange with the Uniswap style pools. So you've effectively got a Uniswap exchange with the low fees and low slippage of the Curve Finance pools, and also the normal Uniswap pools for the volatile assets. So a good example of it is I did some simulations on it just before we launched. And if you have a $10,000 of liquidity in a pool on either side, and then you want to trade $1,000, if you're doing it in a volatile pool against volatile assets, you'll pay 10% slippage because you're trading 10% of the pool. But if you do it in a stable pool, because there's so much less risk of the price moving, USD aside, then liquidity providers have the, I guess, opportunity to not be hit by impermanent loss, so they can take a smaller amount of slippage on it. So our pools give you 0.09% slippage, which is 108 times less than on the volatile pool. So if you tried to trade on Uniswap, you would pay $900 on the $1,000 trade, so nearly $100. And if you traded on our stable pool, you would pay 90 cents.
That's that's awesome, yeah. And so, how are you supporting the liquidity on WhaleSwap? Is you've got the pod token that you can stake in the staking farms? Can we go into that for investors?
Yeah, of course. We only just launched it yesterday, so liquidity is still definitely ramping up. But that's right. We've got the farming and yield ecosystem very similar to how PancakeSwap does it. So you've got farms which we hand select and will change as we required to build liquidity on the exchange, but you effectively provide liquidity into the pool and then stake your LP tokens, and you'll automatically be awarded our token. And then there's also a mechanism to stake our token for more of our token, but you will lock it for a period of time, depending on how much more rewards you want, I guess. So we're trying to encourage people to invest long term rather than just pump and dump any coin they want. And then we're also rewarding people for providing liquidity to our exchange. And in turn, having more liquidity means more trades, of course. And then the fees from the trades come back and are used to buy back our pod token.
Great. So you've got flexible staking and lock staking. What's the sort of APYs available, and what's the sort of staking periods to lock for?
Yeah, so we've got, like you said, flexible and lock staking. Flexible staking is you can just drop it in and out whenever you want. So you can lock your token for an hour, a week, a year, whenever you feel like it, right? It doesn't matter. The lock staking is actually committing to a period. So you can, if you do it directly via the contracts, you can technically do it by day. But in the UI, we have it with 1 week, 5 week, 10 weeks, 25 weeks, and 1 year. And 1 year is the maximum you can lock for. And then the longer you lock your tokens for, the more rewards you get. And if you're on, say, the lower end of it, say you're flexible or 1 week, and most people are 52 weeks, you'll obviously end up with much lower percentage of the allocated token.
Great. I think I read that for July, you're going to have higher rewards as well for investors.
Yes, that's right. It's a great point. For the first month, we've got 10 times as much rewards, so our missions are 10 times. And that's to help bootstrap the initial liquidity. So we'll have more people coming in now, building it up. And then if you provide liquidity for a month right now, it's equivalent to having provided it for the next 10 months of the year. So it's a great deal, and it's a great way for us to bootstrap our liquidity early.
Awesome. And the staking farms, you've got two types of liquidity pools, the volatile and stable. Can we go through both of them, and what type of investor would, choose the volatile or the stable? What's best for them?
Yeah, that all depends on the person. Some people just have coins lying around, and it's a good way to make free money on your coins that are lying around just by providing its liquidity. But you would choose probably a stable versus a volatile pool based off if you want to be exposed to impermanent loss or not. Which means if you just have a USD coin, you can chuck in say BUSD and USDT, and just it'll always be worth $1, right? Or let's fingers crossed at least. But if you're more open to the being affected by the movements of the market, you might want to do a BNB USDT, which would be, it's a relatively stable coin, BNB. But if BNB went down a lot, you would end up with more BNB than you had USDT at start because of the impermanent loss. So it's kind of all based off your risk tolerance, but in the end, you're still getting BNB and USDT. We don't have your access to your tokens. It's just sitting in the exchange, providing liquidity and earning trading fees.
Can we go into the pod breakdown? And I think 0% tax is at the pod token.
Yeah, that's right. There's no tax on the pod token. It's 100% just the utility token for the exchange. It'll have more stuff built on top of it as we build it, like the lending and borrowing, for example. And they will also go into ways that we're going to buy back and burn the token. The fees for that stuff is going to be integrated into it. But for now, no tax, nothing like that. Obviously, it will be affected by price movements like normal, but that's it. And then it will be bought back by us and dumped by people earning it naturally. So the idea is to have a naturally inflating token like that.
Awesome. And I forgot what I was going to say now, actually. Yeah, you plan to go multi-chain as well with pod, but you started on the BSC first, yeah?
Yeah, that's right. So pod's only on BSC right now. We have plans to go multi-chain, but it's a big task to bootstrap liquidity. It's a lot of time and effort to do it. So we're doing BSC first, and then we're going to go chain by chain and bootstrap liquidity on each one. Right now, we've already got our exchange deployed on 7 chains, but we don't have farming and staking on them because our token isn't there, and managing 7 chains or with liquidity mining programs will make it really hard to make sure supply doesn't run out of control or anything weird like that.
Great. And were you planning on making the pod a governance token with a DAO and voting rights for investors in the future?
That depends on growth. As soon as I can look at it and be sure that there's no one person that could manipulate it or group of people that could manipulate the protocol, then we can make a governance. Until then, community is obviously a very big part of what we do. I'm sure if you talk to people in the Whale Loans Discord, they'll agree. So we take all suggestions to heart. When we want to do something big, we'll talk to people about it. But it will be controlled by us until we can be sure that no one person can manipulate the protocol by just buying a majority share.
Great. And can we go into, for investors, what you're planning that's coming soon, the borrowing and lending?
Yeah, so the borrowing and lending, there's not too much details on it just yet. The intention is to have borrowing and lending. We want to do some more exotic stuff like looping on tokens. So it's effectively getting really deep in, you're effectively borrowing on your borrows. So you've got a much higher risk, but also more tokens to work with. It's a protocol, a strategy that's used a lot with, I believe, MIM and some of the tokens like that. And then we're also going to be providing traditional lending and borrowing with obviously flash loans. And we're going to be using the Aave backend for it, which is a bunch of work. Most people use Compound, which is a slightly worse protocol technically, but easier to upkeep. But we're going to do Aave because we don't want to just do something because it's easy. We want to make sure it's the absolute best thing for our ecosystem long term.
Awesome. And can we go into the deflationary mechanics for pod? I think some's burned as on the whale swap. And that's how it works.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So obviously they created every block just like most DEX tokens are. And it's 1,000 a block right now. It'll be 100 a block once the promotional period finishes at the end of July. But to make sure it's deflationary, or to make sure the price is kept under control, I guess, it's so it's 0.25% fees on the exchange total. 0.2% goes to liquidity providers, which makes us more profitable for tokens to host their protocol and liquidity on than PancakeSwap as well, without having higher fees for our users. And 0.04% of it goes to the token buybacks and burns, 0.01% will come to us from the trades. Just to sometimes we'll do community giveaways, sometimes we'll help with the protocol or whatever else needs to be used for. So that 0.04% of every trade, that will be used to buy back and burn pod. And then in the future, we're going to have more things with it. If we decide to do lotteries, futures, any of that stuff, we're looking at them. It's not on the roadmap yet, but borrowing and lending as well, that will all have the fees come back and buy back and burn the pod token.
And are you building up partnerships and for the DEX exchange? How are you trying to attract investors to use your DEX?
Yeah, absolutely. We've currently got a few things in the works. I don't know if we can talk about any of them really. We're publicly working with Chainlink for the borrowing and lending especially, and for some extra stuff which we can't talk about yet, but that's going to be cool. And then we're also going to be approaching protocols very soon to try convince them to come use us, since we're more profitable, especially on BSC for them, and they're mostly on PancakeSwap. They may as well put their liquidity on us. They've still got just as much on there. People still trade for the same price, but they make more money in the end. So everyone wins, and the end users probably get it for cheaper. If it's chained, say they've got BNB against their protocol token, and then a user wants to use BUSD to buy it, it might go through a stable pool and have a cheaper fee, cheaper price than if they did it in a traditional DEX. So everyone wins when people use this.
What's the marketing plans for to bring investors into the pod token and staking, and also the DEX? What's planned for the future? How are you going to market it?
I reckon that is a question for Noja.
Yeah, I was about to say I'll get this one. So basically, for the marketing, we've already set up a couple different campaigns and stuff like that to start rolling out, and really just getting into influencers, making sure that we're kind of all over the place, really, in terms of Telegram and Twitter, and just kind of keep going at it. Like that's pretty much it. Obviously, the partnerships are a big deal with that one. When we are able to talk to or announce, like I said, like a lot of the stuff with like Chainlink, and then the others, like I said, we can't really talk too much on it. Everything's still kind of being finalized, but those are the things that are pretty much going to carry protocols, right? It's about being seen on Twitter, being seen in Telegram, being seen on YouTube, but also it's about your partnerships, and that's why it's very important. We thought a lot about them. And like I said, I think Chainlink for our lending and borrowing, Chainlink for our other products and stuff like that, which we'll talk about like in the roadmap and things like that. But those types of things are what's really going to is our plan to kind of really get ourselves out there.
And have you had an audit on the smart contracts for the token?
Oh, Colin, I didn't know if you wanted to go in and talk about security and stuff.
Oh, yeah, of course. I've got an echo. Nozia, can you mute your mic?
Yeah.
Right, cool. So we've gotten the audit done. We had that finished up last week, just in time to launch. We had that done by, I always forget how to say it. I'm sorry if they're listening. Boasen, big smart contract audit firm. And they pulled up a few issues. We fixed them all, a few best practice stuff that went really well. That was great working with them. And then we've got a lot of a focus on traditional security stuff with my background being in cybersecurity, being in hacking for the good guys, of course. I was a consultant. Then we have a very deep focus on security. I'm always surprised by what we see from some of the big crypto businesses in the traditional security space.
And going into the security of the DEX, for people connecting the wallets and hackers and things like that, what security have you built around that?
For our wallets, the DEX wallets?
Connect your wallet, to the DEX? Is it safe from hackers and anyone get to the staking pool for the pod too?
Yeah, so most of it isn't something you could get to even if you want to. A lot of it's something we couldn't get to. So if you're staking, if you're farming, if you're providing liquidity, any of that, we can't touch that. There's no way we could, let alone a hacker. So that's no problem. There's a few things that can be controlled, like what farms we do, and there's some stuff around the emission rate and stuff like that that we can work with in case we want to change it in the future. So there's a few things that we need to monitor, but we've got all our wallets, say, used for anything to do with the exchange, are on a ledger that's physically kept in a safe. And then we've also got a multi-sig contract that we're going to be moving to in the next week or two, I think. And that's going to have the ledger as one of the signers on it. And then obviously Anosier will be the other one, and maybe some other people, depending on what we decide.
Some comment, and then you can open it to the rest of the team. If anyone's got a question for the Whale Loans team, go ahead.
Yeah, hey Glenn, I was listening, and it looks like you guys are building something super complex, and I was curious if you're looking to take it sort of the same way where Uniswap and PancakeSwap and all these DEXs are going, but creating their own launchpad NFT series. I don't know, like public auctions for farms, things like that. Or are you more focused on the lending aspect and sort of for the more advanced kind of user?
So to answer your question, we are it is, I think that's kind of the important part about dexes, right? We all kind of believe, we can all kind of like look and see at all these different, like you said, Uniswap, PancakeSwap, all these other different swaps, and they've built so many different things on top of the actual, just the dex. And I think that's the important part, right? Like that's where you really get people. So we're thinking very carefully about what we're going to add on to the decks, and we do have quite a few products that we've thought about that would be more user friendly and stuff like that. And I think that's probably, like you kind of mentioned, like that's probably where you really want to go in terms of dexes, instead of the advanced stuff. Even like the lending and borrowing, something Colin mentioned, is that it's going to have like the looping on there, right? That makes it a lot easier for people to have access to leverage and stuff like that, instead of having, like, if you had to do that manually, if you had to do that process manually of looping, like, it would probably go over most people's heads. It's not easy to do. So building things that make it easy, like usability, is like a real big thing for us. So we want to be able to grant people access to different opportunities, things that they wouldn't normally have access to, but we want to make it easy for them as well. So it's actually complicated, but we're creating an easy button for you to kind of get to it. So that's our goal for the decks.
Yeah, it sounds good. I know it's a little difficult for a lot of people. I know everybody can use a DEX and all that, but then these sort of DEXs kind of dilute everything into going into a lot of fields and not just specializing on something that's easy and user friendly and usable by everyone. So if you can get a platform where they just click and swap, and then they can get a nice little loan, and then there's an explanation what you can do with the loans and best practices, and then you can offer them pools right there on the spot. I think people will be sort of more incentivized to use it when they know they don't have to, take money from protocol, cross it over to another chain, and stake it, be careful of the bonding and all this. So if you're trying to build this sort of for the average user, I think it can be like super beneficial. And also, I was wondering, you mentioned the staking pools. Is that going to be open for, say, like projects want to onboard with you and they want to use have you create sort of some staking pools for them to kind of generate exposure and all that? Is that something you're open to? Can they just approach you, or is there like a vetting process, or maybe is this something that you're looking at later down the line?
Yeah, I can answer that. We're definitely looking at that. We want to partner with kind of anyone we can. There's no downside to us, no real risk to our token if people want to use us to host their liquidity in the first place. But on top of that, we don't do IDOs yet, any of that stuff, or IEOs. We're thinking about it. It's a whole thing, and we want to make sure we get this right first, and then we can worry about that. And in terms of people coming to us for farms, especially, or even staking, because right now you can only stake our token for our token, but say with PancakeSwap, you can stake Cake for other tokens. If people want to do that, they can just come straight to us and ask. There is a vetting process, obviously, especially for staking. Sorry, especially for farms, because that's effectively us giving out emissions to that protocol for a period. But we're more than happy to work with anyone that's keen, I guess.
Yeah,
Or at least.
yeah, I get it. I was only asking because I heard you mention some liquidity incentives, especially for the first month, I think you said, with some higher APYs, and I was just wondering what sort of other incentives people will get to use it, and since you do have this staking protocol that's already, robust and working, I thought, like, for me, it just occurred that could be like the main thing, and I'm wondering, like, what else are you trying to do to sort of get people to lock their liquidity, and because high APYs are super nice, but people want to see a little bit more there. So are you looking at sort of showing them how the protocol is more efficient, the low fees, what's kind of your approach to sort of drive in the big players that bring in the big bucks for the protocol?
Yeah, I think that's the key, right? I think what you have to do now, and we've been looking at this for a while, it's really about revenue, right? Like that's most important, to a lot of it's most important to having a healthy protocol. It's most important to investors, users, token holders, you name it. It's really about the revenue, right? That's where they want value for their liquidity. They want, that's the return. So if we can give them value, on their liquidity, I think that's the biggest incentive that you can really give them. So yeah, okay, you're going to give us back your token, awesome. But it's more about, okay, well, what does that token do? Why do I want to acquire that token? Oh, you built this into it, you built that into it. And as more products and things come into play, we'll be doing more and more additions to the token. So the goal is to really make the token as valuable as possible, so that way people will want to stake, people will want to farm, and things like that. It's the same thing that works with like a curve or something like that, right? Everybody wants to acquire curve, so that, especially those protocols that you're talking about, and partnerships and other, projects and things, they want to acquire it so that they can, get a vote for, adding a specific product or something like that. It's just about the value that you give back for the token. And so we're going to add a couple different things as we continue to release more products, and then that will be the reason that people will want to come in pretty big.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now that you mentioned it, are you also looking at sort of implementing a DAO structure of any kind? Maybe not like a full DAO, some investors don't really know what's going on, and you might want to keep control of certain aspects, but maybe like a hybrid DAO, anything like that, to sort of just get people engaged more and have them vote on some stuff, maybe?
Yeah, like I mentioned earlier, there's going to be a governance token when we can be sure that it won't be manipulated by anyone being dodgy. And that's that's a real issue these days.
It is. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, so it's okay.
Yeah,
we have.
Yeah, I was just saying, we've seen it. I know that's why we're kind of chuckling about it. We've seen it where certain bad actors, or I don't know, I don't want to call anybody out or anything like that, but there have been some interesting protocols that have been sort of, I don't know if you can even call it an attack at this point, because if you give people the opportunity to use a product and they use it to the extent that it's been built to be used, then you can't really blame them for taking advantage of a tool that you've built. And so that's why I was asking about it, because I know some people are taking sort of a hybrid approach now where they don't give like full control, not even 20% control, but just enough to get people engaged and give them some incentives. But yeah, I get it. Yeah, thank you for answering that. And just the last thing, you were mentioning like multiple chains, so I'm guessing you guys are going to build a cross-chain bridge later down the line with using your own token.
That would be nice, yeah. It's all up to what would be best. Because we built our index especially because we had a product that would be better than all the other dexes in the market, right? We don't want to just drop a bridge for the sake of having a bridge and fork someone else line for line.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, we'd probably be able to build their bridge into our UI somehow and make it just as good a user experience as if we built our own. But if we have a way that we can build a bridge that benefits the ecosystem in a better way somehow, or if we can make it better, then absolutely, yes, that's a thing we can do. More likely is something like cross-chain atomic swaps. It's a big issue because a lot of dexes don't actually have, even the cross-chain ones don't have liquidity on more than one, maybe 2 or 3 chains. So we want to, if we have liquidity, we can build atomic swaps into a V2, which is a big technical problem, don't get me wrong, but it's the dream outcome for us to be able to do that, so you can trade on one chain and get the token on another chain, much like with a bridge, but seamlessly without having to go through the whole bridge experience. You can just swap it.
Yeah, that sounds. I mean, yeah, it is a nice dream to look forward to, and it's good to have big dreams. So yeah, thank you for answering. It sounds good. It sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you for the questions, Axie. Let's open it up to investor questions. Syed, you had a question for Colin Aranosi here at Whale Loans. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Glenn. Okay, I have a few questions. So I was going through a white paper and it's mentioned about flexible staking pools where user can stake their pod tokens, and this pool will also automatically compound for investors. So I was thinking that will the rewards from the flexible pools be also auto distributed to the users, or will they have to claim manually? How will that work?
So they're effectively added to your stake automatically. So you can, because they're added every block, the emissions happen every block, so the tokens are added every block, and it compounds every block. So you effectively have the extra tokens as from the compounding straight away. So there's no, I guess it doesn't appear in your wallet, but you do need to harvest them, but it also is in your staking position, if that makes sense.
Okay, got it. And will users also be able to maybe turn off the auto compounding if they want to?
No, there's no way to turn off the auto compounding, but there's no real negative to having the auto compounding. It will only ever make you money.
Okay, got it. And for your lock staking pools, I was wondering that what will be the minimum, the maximum locking periods?
The minimum, I believe, is 1 week. I'd have to double check. In the UI, it's definitely 1 week. And the maximum is 52 weeks, so 1 year.
Okay, got it. Okay, I was also thinking that the whale swap, is it developed on PancakeSwap contract or Uniswap? It's a Uniswap fork.
It's got a little bit of both in it. The tokenomics, especially, were taken mostly from PancakeSwap. The exchange itself was taken mostly from Uniswap, but Uniswap v2 because v3 is licensed terribly, and we're not allowed to touch that.
Okay. Okay, somewhere I've read that you are also offering flash swaps. So can you briefly explain how these flash swaps work and what are their benefits?
Yeah, so flash swaps are kind of halfway between what you'd have with a flash loan and a flash mint, if you're aware of them. So effectively, it lets you borrow tokens in the same way you would from a flash loan, but you're borrowing from the liquidity pool. It's a kind of a forced swap at the same time. That's why it's called a flash swap. And that means you can borrow up to as much as is in the liquidity pool. and then you can do that whatever you want with them as long as you return the blocks in the same the tokens, sorry, in the same block. So it must be done all in a smart contract somewhere all at once.
Okay, understood. Okay, so it was also mentioned on your white paper that investors can stake pod tokens and earn other tokens as a reward. So I was wondering that which tokens currently users can earn by staking pod.
So right now, there's no other tokens you can earn by staking pod, but there will be in the future. That all depends on how partnerships go, who wants on board to work with us. Right now, we have the capability for it technically. We just don't have the partners signed up yet.
Okay, got it. Thank you for explaining that. Thank you so much. Over to you, Glenn.
Your question, Sayed. Let's move on to Asia. You got a question for Colin or Anuzi here at Whale Loans. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. Okay, you mentioned about lending. I want to know that will only bot token be used as collateral, and up to what percentage will investors be able to borrow of their total collateral, and will investors getting loan in stable coins?
A lot of the actual numbers, so how much you can borrow against your collateral, is not finalized yet. We have to do a lot of math to figure out the risk parameters, and that's probably the biggest part of what we still need to do for the launch. We have a vague range, but I think the range of other protocols, Venus is probably a bit too tight, so maybe like slightly less than Venus, I think would be the range, but also the Aave protocol is a bit more tolerant, so we'll see. But in terms of what you can use as collateral, you can use pretty much any token we deem to be safe. So no risk of rugs, nothing like that. So sure, we'll probably have pod in there. There's no reason not to. We obviously trust that 100%. And then we'll have the native token BNB for whichever for your chain, stables, all those kind of ones. Pretty much anything we can be 100% sure about the safety of can effectively be collateral.
Got it. Okay, on your Medium page, it's mentioned that whale loans is being deprecated, and you took snapshot of hump and stump holders so that pod emissions could be weighed based on investors' holding at the time. I was thinking that do the hump tokens still have any utilities, or after the launch of pod token, hump tokens have no more use cases?
Yeah, that one was our protocol. It's been completely deprecated. There's no real utility for it anymore, and because of that, because the liquidity has been moved over to Whale Swap, it means that people who had bought the token historically could not buy or could not really sell it for very much. And admittedly, it was Whale Loans was an Olympus DAO fork, so there was a bit of a liquidity issue in the first place. Those always trend towards zero naturally. So the people that held that token, we're rewarding them with part of our tokens, our fee. So we're rewarding them out of our cut, and that way they're still winning. They're still getting an equivalent or probably a better value in the end, and everyone still gets their LP rewards. Most of it's for LP rewards.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you for answering my questions.
Yeah, no problem.
The questions, Asia. Let's move on to Venice. You had a question for Colin here at Whale Loans. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much, Glenn. Actually, I want to know that is it possible for anyone to swap and directly send the tokens to the desired wallet address using Whale Swap? And also, can people save wallet addresses of the people they know so that they can transfer the tokens easily?
Yeah, so you can send them to anyone. That's no problem. There's functionality built into the UI to choose where it's going. So you can swap and send at the same time if you want. You can swap then send manually, whatever floats your boat. And then, what was the other question? Sorry.
And other part was that can people save wallet addresses of the people in their contact list so that they can transfer the funds easily?
Not currently, but that's a really good idea that I'm going to write down really quick.
Okay, awesome. And
Yeah.
I'm also
But sorry, there is actually a feature in the analytics that lets you track wallets. You can track your own wallet, you can track your friends' wallets, whatever, and it will give you a breakdown of what's in it and LP fee rewards, stuff like that. So you can save those in the analytics, and you can use that to track them, but you can't use it to auto-populate in the site just yet.
yeah, that's awesome. And I'm also curious to know that is there any minimum limit that one need to add to the liquidity for earning the trading fee? And when removing the liquidity, will there be any fee deducted in doing that? So how will it work?
Right, so I'll start with the fees. The fees are in swaps, not in adding and removing liquidity. So you can do that as you please. Obviously, it's gas fees, but there's no actual fees built in for us. And then when someone does a swap, and then their fee gets added to the liquidity, and then the part of that, which is fee for the protocol, comes to us. So fees on the swap, fees are not on your liquidity. Add and remove as you please. Sorry, I lost the other part. What can you say that again?
Yeah, you answered that, and I have another question that I like to ask. That there are some other swapping tools like PancakeSwap where people get frustrated if they set slippage either very high or very low without understanding the taxes or slippage rates. So, will WhaleSwap fetch the slippage automatically, or do you have any expert mode in your WhaleSwap? And also, do you have any plan to educate the new crypto users about taxes or other necessary things for swapping the tokens so that they can easily use your swapping tool?
Yeah, so we do have an expert mode that's got all the things you would expect, and it does calculate the slippage automatically for you. As with all things, it's very hard to get around it completely. Obviously, there's always going to be slippage, and it's always going to be a bit of a weird thing to manage because slippage can change between when you between when you click confirm and between when the block confirms. There can be other trades on the same pair in between. So these all protocols really naturally have a small gap in the middle where you can slip a little more than the UI says, but the UI will 99% of the time be exactly right. But yes, the UI does build it in and do its best job to do it. And for new people, we're doing similar things. We're writing guides. We're bringing fiat on ramps into it as well, which is going to be really cool, on and off ramps. So you can buy the native token of the chain and then have it, I guess. So if people don't know how to use DEXs very well, don't know how to get, say, BNB and then get it to the DEX, they can use that fiat on ramp to get it to the exchange, and then trade without having to deal with all the centralized exchanges or anything else.
Okay, and one last thing I want to know about. I'm curious to know that on your website, it's mentioned that Whale Loans has been deprecated, and check the new platform that is WhaleSwap. So I'm curious to know that the token hump that was associated with Whale Loans, your previous platform, is it still in on the exchanges like PooCoin or other tools from where we can buy hump, or it isn't possible?
No, that token's completely deprecated, so it's not on any centralized exchanges anymore. It's not listed on any of the normal exchanges. You can still put in the contracting address because we can never permanently get rid of a token off the blockchain, but there's no liquidity to trade off on PancakeSwap or anything like that either. So that token's just completely deprecated.
Okay, I think I just opened the PooCoin few hours before this AMA, and I tried to buy it. It was giving me 4.6 hump tokens for 1 BUSG. So I think it's still on the PooCoin.
On PooCoin, yeah, it might be using a little bit of liquidity that might be on PancakeSwap. There's nothing we can really do about that. Someone's providing it. But that's not anywhere near the price for what we actually had when it was live or when it was before it was deprecated. So it's clearly just a little bit of liquidity struggling around.
Yeah, I also tried to join your Telegram that is mentioned in the Whalecoin Talk group in the chat, and it's in the different language. So is there any English community from where we can get to know about your hump token got deprecated or other latest news as well?
Yeah, so we don't actually have a Telegram officially. The one that was linked in the Whalecoin Talk Telegram was some fan made one that was way back in the day. I don't think anyone's posted it since February, and we launched at the end of January. So that was just a community made one that was there briefly. And there's another Telegram under Whale Loans, which is a scam one, which we don't want to encourage people to go to. But we do have a Discord where we have all our official communications.
Yeah, I was curious to know about the deprecation of hump tokens. So I got my answer from you in this AMA, but I was thinking that people should know about all the news, the deprecation of the hump token and everything. They should know. So there should be a medium like a proper channel from where people can get to know about all these things clearly. And thank you so much for answering my questions as well.
Yeah, no problem. In our Discord, we do have an announcements channel. We mention everything as it kind of happens. Sometimes we just have a chat. It's a good place to go to see stuff like that, and our Twitter as well. We announce everything on there. And our blog, I believe, also had a post all about deprecating the token.
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like people are coming across it accidentally, so maybe we need to remove some more references to it so people don't come across it and think it might have some value to them.
Question. Let's move on to Western Beast. You had a question for Glenn or a nosy here at Whale Loans. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn. Okay, I have just two questions. And my first question is from the frequently asked questions section of your white paper. So I saw that you have multiple solutions coming in the future to allow users to use both flexible staking and locked staking. Now, I know that this is still in consideration and in development, but I wanted asking, how would you go about this, and what factors are currently being considered at the moment?
And you're talking about for what exactly? I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first beginning of the question.
All right. I saw on your white paper that you have multiple solutions coming in for the future where users can use both flexible and locked staking simultaneously. So I wanted asking, how are you going to go about this, and what factors are currently being considered for this feature at the moment?
All right, yeah, I'll take that. For the flexible and locked staking, you can't do them simultaneously. I believe that's what it should say. I'll double check that after we've done here, but it's kind of because we have it in the same contract, both for tracking and for other reasons, technical reasons especially. It's hard to have two different pools for it and then have the tokens emitted to each one individually, and they have their own ratios. It's a whole thing. So effectively, it's more of a technical limitation that we can't have both flexible and locked staking at the same time. You can convert though. So if you've got your pod locked in a flexible staking, you can convert it to locked. And if you've got it in locked, you can't convert it to flexible because it's locked, of course. You can't unlock it until the time period's over, but you can extend the lock if you want more APY or whatever else.
All right, and I believe that this locked staking, it's custom. You can set it on custom settings, or are there specific timelines?
For custom settings on the locked, or what do you mean by custom timelines? Do you mean periods other than what the UI shows?
Exactly. So if I say I choose to lock for, say, maybe 24 hours, I can pick the custom settings can be 24 hours, or the fixed settings can be 1 month to 3 months, 3 months to 6 months within that time frame. So are they custom settings, or are they the settings, the one that the project decided?
Yeah, they're just what we decided for the UI to make it easy for people. Giving too many options is hard. It's hard to give a good user experience and give you the option of, you know, any amount of days between 1 day and a year, right? So we chose that for them. But if you do want to go about it yourself, you can use BSC scan or interact with contracts however you feel like it, and you can do any increment of days between a week and a year.
All right. Okay. Here's my next question. I still saw on your frequently asked. I saw that if you lock the POD for you can lock your POD for a specific period of time. Um, the question I have concerning is that most projects usually limit how long someone can stake the fund to protect the project's liquidity. So do you have that kind of setting on your platform where we can you would someone doesn't lock the POD for an overly extended period of time? He can simply choose to unlock and then relock the POD. Is that setting available?
So once it's locked, you can't unlock it, but we're incentivizing people to lock it for longer periods of time by giving you higher rewards for the longer period you lock it.
All right, all right. Okay, that'll be all from my end. I really wish you guys the best. Over to you, Glenn.
Questions, Western Beast. will the pools as well? Will the APR be flexible or the APY, or will it be fixed throughout the year?
Yeah, so it's flexible. It's definitely flexible. It will change depending on how many people are, or how many tokens, I guess, are staked, and what the average lock duration is. But the number of tokens that are rewarded is fixed. So I believe it's 10% of all the tokens that are emitted are given to that pool to distribute to people's staking pod. And that's something we can control. So if we decide it's too much, too little, adding too much or too little dilution, I guess adding not enough security to it, then we'll change that as needed.
Colin, let's see. Benga, you had a question for Colin or Enosi here at Whale Loans. Go ahead.
Hi there. Thanks for the opportunity, man. Hope I'm audible enough. Hope you can hear me.
Benga,
Yep, we got you.
Ahead.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. Back to this project, I think this is a great presentation and I love the concept. I'm just kind of curious because when you have a project like this, where investors lock token, liquidity, farming, stuff like that. With respect to my experience in crypto space, one of the projects that I've actually involved with something similar like this. One of the things that's actually fucked the project up is the team. I would love to know the kind of relationship that exists between you and the team members, even to the developers, to the owner of the project. How how do you consider your relationship? How well do you guys know each other? And what is the modality of the contract in the project? You see a contract where owner can just walk up today and say, okay, this I want to sell off my token, I want to do this, I want to do that. I would just love to know about the team behind this project.
Okay, so basically, you want to know like basically me and Colin's relationship to each other, as well as what's going on in terms of like security wise for those contracts and stuff like that. Correct?
Yeah, kind of.
Okay, so like I said, like me and Colin, like I said, we've been working together for like 4 or 5, like 4 years or something like that. So we're really good friends. So it's a different situation than most protocols where it's kind of just like some random people who are just now meeting for the first time and you just don't really know people that well. Whereas me and Colin, like I said, we've been working so long together and just trying to do certain things that's just kind of, like I said, that's our relationship. Like we're probably going to be doing stuff and working together for I don't know how many more years. That's just where we're at in terms of like the security and stuff. We always make sure that everything is like equal. No one has like this just one power to kind of do stuff. And I mean, I know it's kind of like hard because that's just kind of where we are in crypto, but we're more of we are long-term thinkers. Like that's just what we're doing this for. We're not doing this for like a quick cash grab or something like that. We're really trying to build out an entire ecosystem that's going to be around for a while, that's going to help a lot of people get their feet wet in crypto, and can show them the benefits of crypto and the ecosystem and things like that. So that's really where we are. I know it's it's hard because, like I said, in crypto, it really is like a, hey, just trust me kind of thing. But just to kind of give people a little bit more background, like I said, we're not that anonymous team, or we're not that team hiding behind a bunch of like emojis or something like that or whatever. Like, this is who we are. We're completely doxxed, and we're going for it long term. So that's not really something to really worry about.
Okay, awesome. I actually love that. The reason why I asked about that is about the insecurity, as you said, in crypto space, because we've actually seen a lot in crypto space. That is great. Secondly, I would just, because seeing your website, I see that you're having different languages that you can actually use to interpret, use as means of interpretation in your platform, which is actually very, very awesome. That means you're having plans for this project to actually take it into the next level. Then, if you're having this kind of plan, are you having a kind of like educational video just to let investors know, probably on YouTube or even on your Telegram channel, just to let investors know, even probably before they visit your website, just to let them know about some great features you have in this project. Because I'm seeing some great features which is not actually common in crypto journeys these days, like lending, like farming, like pool stuffs like that. It's actually very awesome and very attractive. Are you having a kind of educational video, probably short videos, just to let people see all these great features, even probably before they enter your website, that can even attract investors? Okay, this is a great project that has a great concept. Are you looking towards that aspect?
Of course, of course, of course. I mean, I think that's always important. I think it's important to every crypto protocol, to be honest. It's always about the education. So we are going to be putting out more materials and stuff like that. Yes, we are. The platform is has multi languages. We will be adding more languages. If you go in our Discord, we actually have different like little places for people with different like different channels for different people with different languages that want to speak in different languages and stuff like that. And so, yeah, putting out more information to make things a little easier, trying to have something for everybody. Some people will only want to read it. I just want to be able to read, like, tell me the steps. I can do it myself. And then there's certain people that are like myself, I'm a visual learner. I need to watch a YouTube video. I need you to walk me through it and show me how to use the, like you said, like we were talking about the lending and the borrowing, how to use the looping. I guess it's easier, but people still need to be shown how to use it. And so we will be putting out videos and things like that as well. So there'll be a lot more material, educational material, as the protocol grows and stuff like that. So that way everybody, new and old, can kind of know how to use Whale Swap to like their benefit.
Okay, perfect. I actually love the concept. If you can integrate all these concepts, I think you actually break the bottle. But how soon should we be expecting like this lending, like this from how soon should we be expecting all this integration while the project is being launched?
Right. So I think the first thing that we'll probably be doing is probably just like an overview of how to make swaps and things like that. But then there'll also be one on farming and adding liquidity as well. We'll do like something around there. And then obviously once we launch the lending and borrowing, then we'll show people how to do that as well. But for right now, those will probably be the first ones that we do.
Okay, perfect. I think that's great. I think that's all for my end. I would love it because I have kind of suggestion. To be frank, you're actually competing with a popular um, person in crypto space. Like I would say, you are competing with Packet Swap because with respect to your platform stuff like that. So Packet Swap now has a lot of users stuff like that. So I would, if you can actually see all this integration as soon as possible, like this taking, this farming, this will actually be a means of attracting new investors and deviating people from using package swap to your own swapping platform. This is very, this is a very, very, very great project. I wish you best of luck. Thanks for the opportunity, Glenn.
Thank you, big guy. Thank you.
Thank you for the question, Shibenga. Unfortunately, we're running out of time today. It's been great speaking to Colin and Ozzy from Whale Loans. It's been great for our investors to learn more about that. As we always say for Whalecoin Talk, community investors, AMAs are for research and educational purposes. It's not financial advice. You can check out their website, white paper, and official socials. They're in our main chat. And if anyone's got any questions after the AMA, we can get you safely over to the official Discord. I think is your main channel, yeah. And I'm sure there'll be someone there to answer any questions. Thank you very much for coming today.
All right. Thanks, guys, for having us. Look forward.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Colin and Ozzy. Yeah. I think we've got Spin the Wheel as well. $50 for 2 lucky winners.
Yes, I'm sharing the screen here. I don't know if it's coming
see
through.
that?
Yeah, you see it? Okay, let me
Yeah, it's
shuffle it a
coming
little
through.
bit.
Yeah.
Let me shuffle it and spin it for 2 winners here. $50 each. And thank you everybody for coming today. This has really been great. Thank you for all the interesting questions. Thank you for the team for agreeing to come on. This is something super exciting to look forward to. And it's like Glenn mentioned, if you guys still have questions, you're still curious, or you want to learn more, just head over to the official website. And for the social integration, probably go to Discord if you have questions, or if you're I don't know, if you want to talk to the team, talk to the community, see what's the general vibe there, and get involved. So let's see, I got 2 winners here. And we'll post the winners in our main chat, or Dizzle will probably just DM you guys for your wallet. So thank you everybody for coming. Thank you Anzi and Colin for being here. Thank you to the Whale Swap team for agreeing to come on, and thank you to the community members that tuned in, and thank you for the nice questions as well, everybody. It's really been great. Thank you.
No problem. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Colin and then Ozzy, take care. I'll finish the recording and send over a copy of the recording for you to share with your community. I'll send that into our main chat for our investors to listen back to later.
Awesome. Thank you.